And we're live.
When is the next drinking show? And please invite me.
Yes, we'll get you on.
I forgot how embarrassed I was the last time when I pissed all over my bathroom.
So the next drinking episode is also the next smoking episode, and it is 120 days away. Exactly. 120 days, 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 0 seconds. We just rolled over. Yeah. So we get the old freedom ticker.
Oh my God.
It just says great. Freedom, and it's always counting down.
I love smoking pot. Oh, it's half.
That's right. And I swear to God, I'm painting my face like William Wallace, and I'm going to find a movie quality wig to wear for that event. That's going to be fun.
Yes.
I'm just going to dress up as William Wallace, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Get drunk also, though. Because
I mean, we may just go. I mean, the plan was Colorado, but maybe we just go to Oregon and we just do all the drugs, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Your shrooms show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, welcome to PKA 602. Kyle did a lot of shrooms and died earlier. So,
of course, you can't overdose, but we,
well, he did jump
Airbnb.
out the window though because he said he could fly. So,
see, I don't think that's that realistic.
You can overdose on asphalt.
I think those are dare tier stories.
All right, see.
Yeah, and you're 120 days away.
120, something like that. Yeah,
4 months.
4 months. 4 months. Happy town.
By Halloween, you'll be home free.
Oh, long before Halloween. It's October 2nd.
I was just thinking whatever the first fun holiday was.
October 2nd.
Oh, that's when you got out. August must have been when you got in.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been so long since you went in and got out of prison. Those 8 weeks, those 8 shows. I mean, that just flew by for Woody and I.
It seems like 8 years or something like that. It's what it feels like. 8-10 years ago.
What killed me was how long it took to go to prison. Like,
it took so long to go to prison.
So long. Like,
when was the arrest? 17?
Whether you were going to be locked up for 30 years or not at all was a question that existed for like 4 years or something outrageous like that. Yeah. And then after we knew, there was still how long between your sentencing date and your first day in prison?
Months.
Yeah. Kyle, think of the pressure that as your sentence was hanging over me. Like how rough that must have been on me.
There was months, and I remember like when right after I got arrested, and I was speaking to my legal team, and they were like, "Oh yeah, oh no, it wasn't them. It was one of the investigators, one of the sheriff's department investigators." And I was like, I know his name, but I asked him. I was like, "Hey, Bill, how long before we're going to have all this wrapped up?" He's like, "Oh, Kyle, I know some folks with cases like this, and 2-3 years before they even get to court, and then another year after that before everything's wrapped up, and who even knows?" And I'm just like, bullshit. There's no way this thing is going to last for 2 or 3 years. I'm like, we'll have this figured out by the spring.
Sure.
By the spring. Can I jump in line?
and by the spring, we had beaten the state case, but then the federal case began, and then it was the fall before it went anywhere, and then it's lasted so long. It's lasted so long.
That was the boss mode, the federal case.
Yeah, years and years this thing has stretched on. It was better to go federal, though, because Georgia treats concentrate like it's crack cocaine.
Oh, I didn't know that. I always thought it was worse. Oh, so if you had gone to jail, it would have been worse.
It's a little of this, a little of that, right? Because, first of all, like, the state case wasn't going to go anywhere because they had written that bad search warrant.
Uh-huh.
But
you did have shorts on.
I did have shorts on. But at the same time, if I did have to, like, if I was found guilty of the state charges and it was state, it was a real problem. But they treat concentrate so seriously in the state of Georgia. It's like very similar to how powdered cocaine and crack cocaine are prosecuted so differently. Marijuana concentrate and marijuana are prosecuted very differently in Georgia. My lawyer told me, he's like, I told him, I was like, I thought having, half an ounce was like, I was skirting under some sort of legal guideline. He's like, oh no, not with concentrate. You might as well have had 10, 20 pounds of weed. Like that would have been better. If you'd had 10, 20 pounds of weed, we'd have a good shot here. But you had 14 grams of concentrate. They look at that like you might as well have killed somebody or like kidnapped some children or anything really. I was like, are you kidding? He's like, well, I'm exaggerating a little. But you're fucked. I'm like, well, you got to get me out of this. Well, we're gonna try. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. They treated the concentrate very seriously in Georgia, but when it went federal, they're like, marijuana is marijuana is marijuana. They don't care if it's a big pie you bake, a big cake you baked, or
what did they call the guns? Was it defaced? It was destructed serial numbers.
Yeah,
the phrasing was terrible.
Yeah, the phrasing was terrible. It always is. Defaced, maybe. So there's this federal law about defacing or altering serial numbers on firearms, and one of my guns had been Cerakoted, which is a fancy word for like professionally painted by a third-party company. And when they did it, like 2 of the serial numbers were hard to read. But if you like scratched them hard enough with your fingernail, you could read them again. Like nothing was being hidden. But they were using that as this like modifier. It was like when you're playing Magic the Gathering and you like slap down an enchantment, like add 10 years. they were adding the 10-year enchantment onto my sentence because of that. That was 10 years potentially if we lose. And then there was a couple other little things like that. Each gun was an enhancement of like 2 years or 3 years up to 10 guns. Very much like a Magic the Gathering hand, actually, now that I think about it.
It makes sense, just not in the context of you.
Of course.
Like, if a guy's distributing marijuana and he has a bunch of guns around, then we might assume he's a kind of violent marijuana distributor, and that, each of these guns kind of implies more of an arsenal ready to go to war, protecting. This is The Wire, scene where the cops come in and it's practically Waco in there when there's shots going back. Like, that's what the law is for. But it just happens that they hit a YouTube gun channel who enjoys pot on the side.
Like you said, it's for like gangsters who are using those guns to enforce their territory where they're selling narcotics. Whereas I've never sold weed in my life. Nobody would ever pay me as much as I thought weed was worth. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't buy weed from me. I buy the weed. Like you set the price and I'll pay it. Like there was never a point where anybody was ever. I was like, hey, how much for an 1/8 of an ounce? And they were like, it's pretty expensive, man. I'm down to this is good stuff, and I only have a little bit left, and this is my supply. I'm like, just give me your fucking number, dude. Don't dance around this. I got places to be. 200 for an 1/8. All right, fucking let's go. Like there's no that never happened where somebody told me a price that was too high. So there would be no circumstance where I would ever like sell weed, because no one would ever pay me as much as I thought weed is worth, because it's worth so much to me.
Was the serial number thing never a real threat? So
it was like a mild threat, right? Because like my lawyer's ATF guy was like, you would probably win this, and I would strongly recommend you fight this, no matter what, because this is nonsense. But it's still like, it's like when 2 fighters go into the ring, right? Like oh,
anything could happen.
Yeah, Tyson's gonna fight this guy from the crowd. Well, would you bet your life that Tyson's gonna win? Like maybe this guy, maybe it's a tough guy in the crowd. Maybe the judges really hate Tyson tonight.
Maybe Tyson's really so sure he wins, we don't get his A game. Like, who the hell knows how it goes down?
Yeah, you don't know who the judge is going to be, what his thoughts on the matter are going to be, if he's going to understand all the moving parts.
I think most people know but Cerakoting is like a very nice paint. It's not paint, but work with me. And Kyle had a gun painted, and I guess it made it difficult to read the serial number. And they treated him as if he had filed it off. And
that's like a felony thing, is filing off serial numbers for firearms is like
it's a super big deal. Yeah.
And plus, like,
I want to add
even less sense. It made even less sense in my case because I had a license that allowed me to re-serialize firearms. So, like, let's say I did have a firearm whose serial number I wanted to like get rid of. I could absolutely do that. I could literally file that serial number off, carve my new serial number on there in a very haphazard fashion, mind you. I could take like a Dremel and write like Kyle 123, and then I could open my book up and write Smith & Wesson AR-15 serial number Kyle 123, and that's all it takes. That's legal. That's legally changing the serial number of a firearm, and I had that license and that ability and all that stuff. So the idea that I would deface a serial number was doubly
stupid. Yeah. And just to be clear, what he did do, he bought a brand new gun from a gun store like a normal person, and then had it professionally, like, painted. We'll say.
Yeah.
It wasn't shady at all. So, hey, new topic.
No. Yeah.
I wonder, real quick on that. I wonder if you would have gotten convicted of that. I wonder if you could have sued the people civilly that did the paint on the gun.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting thought. I considered it at the time. Yeah.
I considered it at the time.
Destiny.